The 2024 Syracuse men's soccer season has already seen its ups and downs. After a strong 2-0 start, the Orange hit some roadblocks with a 2-2 draw against Charlotte and a surprising 1-0 loss to crosstown foe Lemoyne. It's a program that just 2 years ago ended their season with SU's first ever national title. But now Ian McIntyre and company find themselves winless of their last three, eager to pick up their first conference win. They'll get a chance to turn it all around as they welcome Virginia Tech to the SU Soccer Stadium this Friday. We'll have everything you need to know about the Orange and the Hokies because it's the first ever soccer Cuse countdown and it starts right now. Hello friends and welcome inside the CitrusTV studios. Chloe Smarz here with you right now. We'll be joined by our analysts AJ Myers and Hudson Ridley shortly for this special edition of Cuse Countdown. Syracuse football has the week off, so we're talking the other type of football, Syracuse men's soccer. The Orange welcoming the Hokies of Virginia Tech to the SU Soccer Stadium this Friday night. It's an SU team that just 2 years ago finished their season as national champions, but their 2024 campaign has already come with its highs and lows. The Orange opened up with a strong 2-0 start, but have been winless in their last three. Our men's soccer beat reporter Josh Richardson joins us to break it all down and how the SU has been struggling to get in the win column.
The Syracuse men's soccer season started off all fine and dandy. Back-to-back wins skyrocketed the Orange 18 spots to be the 7th-ranked team in the nation. From there, it's been rough. SU is winless since August 25th, with 2 draws to Charlotte and Boston College, and of course a candidate for upset of the year in the 1-0 loss to Lemoyne. Syracuse plays such an aggressive style that when you look at the box score, it can be easy to think, how did they not win? Front-loading the offensive side of the ball leaves you vulnerable on turnovers, and the Orange have been some victims of sloppy mistakes through the first 5 matches. The best solution for Syracuse? Just give it time. This year's roster consists of 13 freshmen, the most of any class on the team. Not to mention the only starter returning from last year is forward Nick Kalukian. It's a young squad without some natural chemistry that Ian McIntyre has to coach. And while they might not click on every level yet, watch out when they get some more game reps under their belts. Chloe, back to you.
Thanks, Josh. Well, during the Orange's winless streak, SU has struggled to find the net, totaling only 3 scores on 16 shots on goal. A clear problem for the Cuse as AJ and Hudson break down why Syracuse has been ineffective as of late and how SU can change that narrative.
Well, thank you, Chloe. And a big part of that losing streak has been some of the shot selection, AJ, that we've seen from this Syracuse squad. 56 shots over that winless streak. 16 on goal and only 3 goals. You don't have to be a math genius to do that. So let's take a look at why some of those shots have been so bad. If you look against Lemoyne, a game where you've got to win against an in-state rival, you're already down 1-0. 2 guys right here after you make the good defensive play, but then dribbling a ball on the ground, not even troubling the keeper when you need to get back in the game. Bad shot selection. But the finishing sometimes has been even worse. Here's against Boston College, in front of the net, multiple taps to try to get it in. And, I mean, if you have, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 chances to get the ball in the net, and you don't at point-blank range, AJ, that's not going to win you a lot of games, especially in ACC play.
It's not going to win you a lot of games, but also what's not going to win you a lot of games, Hudson, is not scoring goals on set pieces and corners. That's also been a struggle for Syracuse, as we're going to see here in a second. Here from a corner kick, everyone's at the far post. All right, that's fine, but it goes right to the goalkeeper. Well, what's even worse is nobody gets back on defense. Syracuse's defense is struggling here, an error, and there's going to be another error on the goalkeeper, but all this is a result of poor set piece and not getting back on defense for your set pieces. And the next play we're going to see is a free kick right in front of Chance, and he misses it. Right in front of goal, doesn't slot it home. Got to score those. And then here, trailing the game, final seconds, free kick. I get it's close to the goal, but you got to take those chances when you get it right on the doorstep of the 18-yard box. It's one of the reasons why Syracuse is struggling of late, but also, Hudson, they don't have those experienced players that they had in years past. For more on that, we send it over to Chloe.
Yeah, AJ, so much has changed up and down for this SU roster from just a year ago, but the consistency for the Orange on offense has come from Nicholas Kalukian, the junior named to the preseason All-ACC team, leads the Cuse in all 3 offensive categories, and is a solid defender as well. AJ, what makes Kalukian the spark plug for SU?
What makes him so good is he's not a false 9. He's not a 9 that doesn't really play as a striker, but he's a 9 that loves to press, and he can also get out into the wide areas. But he's also really good at his feet, Hudson, and that's something that a lot of strikers don't have.
Yeah, kind of the overall play with your feet that you don't really have. Well, here's the thing also with Colukian that honestly has become his biggest detractor. He's a great threat in the box because he has so much athleticism. He can climb the ladder, and he's great off of corners. But when that's the main way that you score is finishing off set pieces, and you are the engine of Syracuse's offense, that's not going to win you a lot of games, especially when you look at guys from last year that you lose, like Baselli and Makina, who can do it all. That's not something you see with Colukian. He's a little kind of not multifaceted.
Yeah, and two names I'm gonna shoot at you here from the year that Syracuse won the national title in 2022. Levante Johnson and Nathan Opuku. How many goals did they get in that campaign? 11. That's how much Nicholas Colukian needs to get. He's got to get that double-digit mark if Syracuse wants to win a national title, or just win the ACC at that.
Yeah, definitely. And Colukian on offense has been solid, and a bright spot for this SU squad has been the addition of freshman defender Chimrai Omese. The Ontario native has put up 2 goals so far this season, but Hudson, it's defensive side of the ball where he has proven that he can lock down almost any opponent.
Exactly. Very quick feet on Omese. Yeah. This is a guy who came up through the Canadian system. He's a Toronto native, even playing on that Canada U17 national team. So a lot of really good experience, but also tracking forward on the play is something that's very important. He has really good instincts for a young defender, and the fact that he's tied with Colukian for the team lead in goals at 2 and just a few college games for him, he'll be a special player down the line for Syracuse. Right now, does it help a whole lot in terms of the national picture? No, but one day it really will.
One of the few MLS name drops we're going to have on this show tonight. He was with the Toronto FC Academy. That's somewhat of a big deal. And the fact that he can score goals, and he's not that tall either, he's not the biggest defender, is a nice attribute. But you're going to want him defending. And also, he plays in a back 3 system. He's on the left-hand side of that back 3, which is good. And I think he gets up the field nicely. He's a neat player for Syracuse. He's a player that not many people saw coming this early in the year. But I think it's a nice attribute for Syracuse. And if he can get those goals, then that's a nice add.
Well, guys, no great team is led without a great coach, and that statement couldn't be more true for SU. Head coach Ian McIntyre has racked in dozens of personal accolades since leading this Orange program, but it's his selflessness and team-first mentality that has shaped SU's success. Let's break it down. When Ian McIntyre arrived in the 315 back in 2010, Syracuse was not a powerhouse in men's soccer. The team had endured several losing seasons, and the program lacked stability. McIntyre's first few years were focused on rebuilding from the ground up, instilling a culture of discipline, work ethic, and tactical understanding of the game. Despite early struggles, McIntyre's vision for long-term success gradually took shape. The breakthrough came in 2014 when Syracuse reached the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 for the first time in its program's history. And fast forward to just 2 years ago, a remarkable run in the postseason led to the Orange's first ever national title. But now, entering his 15th season, things look a bit different. After losing 11 of their top 12 scorers this offseason, the Orange were forced to reset their roster. And Coach McIntyre dived into the ACC, JUCO, and even Division II landscape to pick up the strongest talent he can find. And even though the results to this point in the season aren't the strongest, one thing about McIntyre is he will always believe in his players.
I think we've got something good going on in our locker room. Wonderful young guys. We've got some real terrific older guys, and as I said, you'd rather win a game, but I'm pleased and proud of our guys tonight.
His ability to continue adapting, recruiting, and competing at a high level is backed by his 17 former players currently in the MLS, and also the reason why McIntyre will be a part of the Orange program for years to come. And when we come back here on Cuse Countdown, we meet the visitors of Virginia Tech. Our analysts break down the Hokies' undefeated start to the season and how they match up to the Cuse. Stay with us. Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. Chloe Smarz, AJ Myers, Hudson Ridley back with you talking Syracuse, Virginia Tech this Friday at the SU Soccer Stadium. We talked about the Houghton team, guys. Let's switch gears to the visitors of the Hokies in Virginia Tech. It's been a strong start this season for VT, 4-0-1 at this point in their campaign. Their only draw coming from now 16th ranked Kentucky. They will eventually fall out of the Coaches Bowl. They have a daunting ECC schedule coming up this Friday with SU, but AJ, how have the Hokies been able to be so successful so far in this season?
Well, Chloe, you say successful. I'm not so sure about that, Hudson.
Ooh.
I look at their schedule and I'm not buying it. They've played teams that have not made the NCAA tournament in the past, and they haven't really beaten teams that comfortably. They beat Presbyterian 2-1. Presbyterian last season only won 5 games, and that game was level with about 30 minutes left in the match. And then they played a ranked Kentucky side who are no longer going to be ranked because they've lost the last few matches, and they drew. They haven't played that part of the schedule yet. Syracuse is going to be their toughest test, even though SU's struggling because it's at SU Soccer Stadium, and SU Soccer Stadium on a Friday night is one of the best atmospheres in college soccer.
I will say that I do agree with you. I'm not impressed with their schedule, but at the end of the day, you do have to play who is on your schedule. They have as many wins right now, 4, as they did all of last season. So this is clearly a team that has really turned things around. And you look at guys that are leading the charge like Ethan Hackenberg, who hadn't had goals in the past 2 seasons and now leads the team with 3. This is a team that has a good amount of offensive firepower, let alone against some smaller programs, but also a good goalkeeper on the back end who's been locking things down for a defense that's also been good. AJ, this could be a very difficult matchup.
Yes, and I agree with what you say because Virginia Tech has beaten teams that they've on their schedule. SU, Chloe, has not really done that. They've played easy teams and they haven't gotten those results.
For sure, but guys, we talked to Ian McIntyre at the top of the show, but the Hokies have a coaching threat of their own. Head coach Mike Brisdine has single-handedly rebuilt this program, led the Hokies to 6 NCAA tournament appearances between 2016 and 2021, an accolade that only 4 other schools have accomplished. Hudson, he's been the anchors to the Hokies' success as of late.
He certainly has, and rebuilding this program is one thing. That's awfully important, but what you do on the field is even more important, those X's and O's. The interesting thing for me with Mike Brisdine is how is he going to play with that 4-3-3 against a Syracuse team that has been pretty active in the midfield especially. It hasn't resulted in a lot of chances, but this team plays fast. They play aggressive. Can Brisdine alter his system and alter his speed and get his guys in the right spot to take away the Orange's chances at home in that environment that you mentioned? He is under a lot of pressure this week.
He is under a lot of pressure, and he likes his teams to play kind of a flashy, flowy kind of soccer because of that 4-3-3 formation. But also, if you look at the goals they've scored this season, none of them are that flashy. They're either kind of messy goals off of deflections, or they're screamers. And I mean screamers, either free kicks or really good volleys. So it's kind of interesting the way this team has played this year. I don't think they've played to the style in which he wants his team to play, but it's still an effective way of playing soccer.
Well, they've been very effective on offense. Hudson, you mentioned the name earlier, but they're led by 2 upperclassmen, senior Ethan Hackenberg, junior Sammy Colby. They combined for 5 goals this season, also both leading the team in points. And interesting to note, both these players coming from the transfer pool, AJ, they have been a vital part to what the Hokies can do on offense.
I'm going to give another player to you, Malik Chwai. He plays on the right wing, and then Brennenberg plays on the left wing. Those are 2 of the most dynamic wingers in college soccer. Brennenberg, he's a sneaky winger. He likes to get in the box. He's had 3 goals this season. They've all been from the penalty spot. Were some of those awarded penalties? I'm not so sure about that. I'll let others be the judge. But he's a really good winger. It's something SU's going to have to be watchful of, not just on the left side, but also on the right-hand side.
And Chloe, you mentioned the people up at the top. Well, AJ, something that's even more impressive is in those 5 games, they've had 9 different goal scorers, including a guy with 3 goals. So this is a team that's put up a lot of points, but it's also a team that's spread the ball around well. They don't rely just on Hackenberg and Colby. They can really do a whole lot of different things, which Syracuse is going to have to defend against if it wants really any chance of staying in this game.
Well, you mentioned it, Hudson. They're going to have a really tough task at hand for the Cuse. It's a strong Tech defense that has only allowed 3 goals and nearly just 9 shots per game. Hudson, I'm going to come back to you on this one. What do the Hokies do well to limit opponents' offensive attack?
Well, what they do is they just funnel all the dangerous moves and attempted shots to their goalkeeper. I mean, right now, we're looking at one of the best goalkeeper performances in the country last week from Wenzel. So if you tie everything together that he's done, I mean, he's taking a lot of credit off of this defense. I think something that they do well force guys to the outside, force them to take stupid shots, and Wenzel, 7 saves, no goals allowed against Furman last time. AJ, it's been a long time since Clint Dempsey has played there, so we don't really know the strength of opponents, but right now, what he's done has been very impressive, and he's taken a lot of the load off his defense.
You want to talk about the goalkeeper? I'm going to talk about the 2 center backs. Oliver Flaki Steffenberg from Iceland. He's a freshman, and he's paired with a senior at that center back position and Trey Gardner. It's a unique pairing when you have a senior and a freshman. Interesting mesh. I think you watch the film on them. I think they've played all right at times this season. I think at times they play a little bit too high of a line, or at times they're a little bit flat-footed. So that's something SU could possibly take advantage of.
Not a lot of speed on Syracuse,
No.
though, to get behind that back line if they do come up top.
Hudson, you're basically taking the words out of my mouth because we're going to talk about the goalkeeper, Cooper Wenzel. He's coming off a season high, 7 saves against Furman. The senior has only allowed 3 goals through his first 5 starts. AJ, how valuable has he been to this defense? Is he the reason why Virginia Tech is good on defense, or do they have a good back end like you mentioned?
I think the defensive line is good, but as you alluded to, Hudson, he has had a very strong start to the season. He wasn't guaranteed. He wasn't a starter last season. He came in. This is his first year with VT. I think he's established himself very well. I think it's a better situation than the situation Syracuse has in net, so I think that's a plus for the Hokies.
He's got a big target on his back, too. That's a goalkeeper room in VT that has 5 goalkeepers on that squad, and he has held that position down very cleanly. You mentioned the 7 saves last time, and then you think about a guy in Thomas Hutt. I don't think he can really compare in that same way. What we've seen in goalkeeper play in Virginia Tech this year is already better than every game we've seen last year and this year from Syracuse men's soccer. That's how big the divide is right now.
And last year for Virginia Tech, it was Timmy Adam who was back there a lot. Didn't put up the same numbers the entire season that Wetzel has put up just as early in the season.
I think it's very clear that this game is going to come down to the goalkeeping. But after the break, we're going to have some fun here on Cuse Countdown. We're taking shots at the crossbar. AJ and Hudson will give their hits and misses for this season of SU men's soccer. Stay with us to see our soccer skills.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back here on Cuse Countdown. We're showing off our soccer skills. I got to ask before we start this, who here has actually played soccer?
I played soccer in high school.
Both of us. Both of us are high
So
school
I'm
soccer.
the amateur
It's almost
here.
like we were meant to do a soccer Cuse Countdown.
Sure. Chloe Smarz, AJ Myers, Hudson Ridley here. Let's see, Hudson. Show them skills.
Here we go. Oh, no. There we go.
Oh, you got it. Oh,
That's,
we lost it.
that's
We
about
lost it.
it.
We had it for a second.
We didn't break the TVs.
That's a
what
plus.
matters most.
But new game here on CC, the Crossbar Challenge. It's simple, guys. I'll give you guys a take about this SU men's soccer team. You tell me if you will hit or miss the, quote, crossbar. First up, someone we talked about at the top of the show, forward Nicholas Kaluki, and their go-to on offense. He finished last season with 15 points. He led the team in points. AJ, I'll go to you first. Hit or miss, Kalukian wraps up the 2024 season with at least 10 points.
Well, Chloe, you mentioned my brief soccer career. The last soccer game I played, Hudson, I hit the crossbar. It was a free kick, and I dinged the crossbar. I think Nicholas Kalukian's going to do the same thing, but he's actually going to score goals. I think he gets to 10 goals. The reason being is, in the ACC thus far this season, Syracuse has taken 100 shots Eventually, those are going to start going in, and I think Kalukian is the guy to finally put the ball in the back of the net.
Well, AJ, if they're not going in against Lemoyne or Colgate, what makes you think they're going to go in against Clemson and Virginia? Right now, AJ, I do not see him getting to even 10 points in this reality. It's only 3 more goals, but he is the headliner of a stagnant, and I say stagnant, offense. When the only offense they have with him is floating it up to him, try to have him head it down, that's not a recipe for success to put up big numbers on the air. I just don't see it.
Syracuse plays with that 5 midfield. If those wingbacks or even just wingers, if they get the ball into the box more for Kalukian, he's not the tallest guy, he's not the biggest guy. I think he just needs a little bit better service because he's so good at pressing the ball. He runs around the entire pitch. I mean, he plays a full 90 minutes to his full ability. He can definitely score goals. It's in his ability. It's just whether or not the first one goes in, and I think more will go in after that.
So we got a hit and a miss for round 1. Let's talk goalies for SU. Tomas Hutt won the goalie battle in the preseason and started off strong, winning ACC Defensive Player of the Week in his first week. But Hudson, recent struggles for the Orange have fallen back on him. Hit or miss, Hutt will not be the starter by the time the end of the season comes around.
You know what? I have this as a miss, which means I do think that he will be the starter at the end of the season. But it's not the way you think. I do think Thomas Hutt will get benched. I then also think Jaheim Wickham will get benched for Thomas Hutt. This is not a team where goalkeeping has been the strong suit. We saw that last year with Jason Smith at the end. Jaheim Wickham was not good. That was the main reason why that team fell apart down the stretch was the goalkeeping. This year, I really don't see it being any different other than now just having an offense that doesn't run. But Thomas Hutt, I think he's the best goalkeeper in that room. It's not saying a whole lot, but right now, he really is. An 80% save percentage is still a pretty solid number through this year.
You see the highlights right now. He had a great, okay, right there, he made an error, but I thought against BC, he had a really solid game. And here on Cuse Countdown, we usually talk about football. I'm going to talk about John Madden. He had a quote about quarterbacks. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. In soccer, I think it's the same thing. If you're using 2 or even 3 goalies, you're using no goalies. A goalkeeper is such an important position in soccer because it helps the defense so much. Having the same established voice and anchor between the pipes is so important. And if Syracuse, and Ian McIntyre knows this, he's a smart coach. You talked about that, Chloe. He knows if it's too late to change the goalkeeper, he's not going to do it. He did that last season. I think it hurt the team. You've got to stay with who you believe in.
So we got another, what'd you say?
That's a hit.
That's a hit, and that's a miss.
Still a miss. Back-to-back misses.
Hudson's very negative so far. Well, looking at the big picture, SU has made the NCAA tournament the past 2 seasons, capturing the title in 2021. AJ, hit or miss, the Orange can make it 3 straight tournament appearances this season.
I'm not going to make it a hat trick of hits. I'm going to go miss. I don't think this team makes the NCAA tournament, and the biggest reason, Hudson, is because there's too much new. There's, I think, 11 freshmen and 9 transfers on this team. That's a lot of new faces. College soccer is not easy, especially in the ACC now. After it got those really good Pac-12 teams, it's such a difficult conference, and that ACC play is tough. They got to go to Clemson, to Virginia, to Louisville. Those are probably all going to be defeats. Those are tough road environments, and then they end the season with Pitt coming to SU Soccer Stadium. That game against Pitt is always a feisty affair. It's going to be a really good game, but I just don't see this team making the tournament.
You thought I was negative in the last one. I don't see them making the tournament. It's a miss. I don't see them getting above 500 because of that schedule that you mentioned down the stretch. I don't think it's the team we saw in previous years that can beat a Louisville, that can beat a Virginia, that can beat a Clemson. This team cannot do that.
You don't have no faith in the home field advantage that SU Soccer Stadium brings?
Not anymore.
This Friday night?
You don't love that rowdy crowd.
Because you know what? After a tie on this Friday night and then a continuation of losses in a row, there's not going to be that environment at SU Soccer Stadium anymore. They only love you when you're winning. All right? That's true. And especially with a program in men's soccer that had the heights that it did just a few years ago, people know those heights. They're not going to come for mediocrity. They're going to come when the team is good.
All right, maybe my answer is going to take a little bit of a deflection here.
Oh, here we go.
The reason it takes a deflection is because they have Ian McIntyre. He is almost like the Nick Saban of college football. He's such a good coach. I don't think it's going to happen, but they have a great coach and something could happen.
Saban.
You never know.
It's not Nick Saban.
He's been there how long now?
Yeah, Nick Saban was there longer, won 6 titles.
And has a stadium now renamed after him.
Exactly.
That could be coming.
I don't normally give my takes in these games. I leave it to you too, but I gotta actually agree with Hudson here. I think it's gonna be no three-peats happening for Syracuse men's soccer this season. No. Well, after the break, we'll wrap up here on Cuse Countdown. We'll take a look around the loaded ACC and give our picks for this Friday's matchup. You guys won't want to miss it. Stay with us.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving...
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Wrapping up shop here on Cuse Countdown, Chloe, Smarz, AJ Myers, Hudson, Ridley getting you set for Syracuse, Virginia Tech this Friday night. Let's take a look from a bigger lens. Let's take a look around the ACC. Conference play is underway for the men's. We have a big-time matchup. New ACC teams, Cal and SMU matching up. Also, Clemson, they lost last week to Stanford. They were last year's ACC champs. AJ, I'll go to you first. What do you like when you look at tomorrow night's matchups?
Well, I like a lot of these matchups, especially that California-SMU matchup. Those are two new ACC teams, and Hudson, we alluded to it right before the break, how much stronger the ACC has gotten, and you see that with these matchups.
And how could you not love Duke, North Carolina?
So
really
early
in
in the
any
season.
sport. Really early in the season, in any sport. And Duke is a team that's very, very feisty. North Carolina has been a giant for a long time in the ACC. If anyone was to take them down, I would say it'd be Duke. That sits right now outside the top 25. That is kind of an upset pick from me right now, but I like that. I also like Clemson and Boston College. Boston College is a team that, you know, is a little bit lower in the ACC, just tied with Syracuse.
Yeah.
Exactly, 1-1. A little bit lower in the ACC. I think Clemson probably wipes the floor with them if we're being honest, but I like some of the pieces that Boston College has with that young team.
The last matchup I have my eye on is Pitt and Louisville, and it's from a Syracuse perspective. Those are two teams that Syracuse is going to have to play, and that's some of the best teams in the ACC. That game is going to show Syracuse how difficult this ACC conference is.
Well, guys, we can't close out this show without giving our picks for Friday's matchup. AJ, the Orange really need this win for the momentum of the season. Do they get it done?
Yes, they don't just get it done, but they score 3 goals. All this, they can't score goals, goes out the window. And Hudson, you know who's scoring all those goals? Nicholas Kaluki, and he gets a hat trick. Everything turns around for this SU team. Who knows, maybe that deflection does hit the crossbar, and this team makes the tournament, and it all starts on Friday night when SU Soccer Stadium is packed and rowdy, a 3-2 SU win.
No, I don't see that at all. This is not where
Not
Syracuse...
surprised.
It's not where they break through on the score sheet at this point. This team is just a little too discombobulated. They're a little too young. They have not meshed well together, and this is an offense that, I've mentioned it before, very stagnant. I think they score a goal, and I think the defense lets up a goal. The first time in the history of Cuse Countdown, a 1-1 game between Syracuse and Virginia Tech. That's how I see this game going. And honestly, I think Syracuse would be lucky to win with a tie here.
In a hypothetical situation here, what does Syracuse have to do to get the win, AJ?
The wide areas. They got to control those wide areas. That's where Virginia Tech is so good. It's playing on the wings.
Hudson, really quick.
Slow down the pace of play. They need to do it. So much speed on Virginia Tech. Slow it down.
I got Virginia Tech 2-0 and disagree with both of you. But that will do it on this episode of Cuse Countdown. Be sure to check out CitrusTV Sports on YouTube. For the three of us saying so long and enjoy the full show.